Hello guys, thank you so much for being with me in another machine learning tutorial video. In the previous video we had a brief overview of the Python programming language and said that one of our main tools in machine learning are matrices and vectors. We saw a brief introduction about these tools in Python. In this video we will see more operators. We define a matrix again. We do this with a nested list. The operator used to work with sequences in Python is the colon operator. This operator is also very useful in matrices. In Python, when working with matrices, axis 0 refers to the rows and the vertical axis, and axis 1 refers to the columns and the horizontal axis. This point is very important. Considering that indexing in Python starts from 0, so the line with index 2 is the third line. Be careful that a row of a matrix is itself a matrix, or in other words an array, and never neglect the Python files I have provided you, and even run the cells one by one. The concatenate command is one of the most important and widely used commands and is used for connection because the axis is 1. These two matrices are placed next to each other horizontally. That is, first it places the matrix A, and then it places the columns of the matrix V next to the matrix A. If we wanted to put these two matrices under each other, we should use axis 0. Of course, this is not always possible. Since the discussion of joining two matrices is very widely used in the field of machine learning, I have explained more about them in the files. I have put various examples and exercises for you. Be sure to pay attention to all of them. For more simplicity, there are 3 other commands for this purpose in Python, named hstack, vstack, and stack, because these topics are widely used in machine learning. These additional commands are prepared in Python. In the stack command, we put two matrices on top of each other. They are shown in the output for sequential visualization, but actually they are on top of each other. That is, when we use this command, we output a third dimension on this matrix. Here I have written a little about matrix operations. Provided that two matrices are multiplicable, we must use the dot function. A vector multiplication is a special case of matrix multiplication. Many sources use this command, but my preference is not to use this method. From my point of view, the preferred solution is Matchmuller @. These methods have no difference, but in order to prevent interface with the concepts of dot multiplication and vector multiplication in linear algebra, I prefer not to use the first method. The numerical multiplication operator is used to multiply elements by elements, and its condition is the exact equality of the dimensions of the matrices. As we said before, it is also possible to multiply a matrix by a scalar number. These operators, which have nothing to do with the matrix as a whole and are applied to each element of the matrix, are called element-wise operators. You can access all the functions in the NumPy library with the MP, with the dir, open a parenthesis, and write NP, which was the alias of NumPy library, and close the parenthesis. A good programmer is one who can take help from such commands and search the internet on how to work optimally with programming languages. In programming, it is better to become an expert in one language, and when working with other programming languages with a little research and study, you can adopt the tips of each language to the principles of programming. Something like driving. If you know driving and its principles and rules, changing the car will not affect your driving. Sometimes using the operations available in the NumPy library is much better than more efficient than writing loops, for example, because these operations is written by very professional programmers who have tried to design this operation in the most optimal way and with the highest running speed. So it is better to use the facilities available in the ready-made libraries than to try to write the code bit by bit ourselves. Broadcasting is related to when we want to perform an operation on two matrices that is not possible. To solve this problem, Python enlarges the smaller matrix until the dimensions of the matrix reach a point where it is possible to perform operations on them. In fact, Python keeps repeating the smaller matrix to make the operation possible. Another common operation in matrices is transduction. If the arrays are two-dimensional, we can swap the rows and the columns and get its output. Default Python allows us to do this. Defaultly, Python allows us to do this. You can do this with a.t. You became familiar with this T, which stands for transpose, or transpose function actually. If you want to know what this function does, you can use the help command. Arrays do not necessarily have to be two-dimensional to use this function. This function can be used in three-dimensional arrays and it moves the axis. This function can be used in any array with any dimension. Here are some other commonly used matrix operations. The max function returns the maximum element value. The argmax function returns the index of the element that has the maximum value. When we compare matrices with numbers, each element of the matrix is compared with that number. Here again, the same broadcasting happens when we use where at the index of the elements in which the condition inside the where is true are returned. The flipper function changes the main and minor diagonals of the matrix. Actually, it rotates the matrix 90 degrees clockwise. To find the inverse of a matrix, we need to use the inv function in the linlg library. We said that for invertible matrices, inverse and pseudo-inverse are equal. The all close command checks whether its entries are nearly equal. There is no invertibility in matrices where at least two rows have a linear dependence on each other. That is, one is the product of a numerical multiplication of the other. Error in programming is completely normal and will decrease with experience and time. One of the skills of a good programmer is to be able to understand these potential errors and fix them. A very important discussion in data science is data mapping. The commands in the Matplotlib library are very similar to the commands in MATLAB. We use this library to draw the shapes, figures and charts. We only need the pyplot module from all the features of this library, and for convenience we will call it PLT from now on. In Python, any command that starts with a percent sign is called a magic command, but we don't need them in this lesson. The output of the commands of this library is an object. For this reason, after running, in addition to the drawing, figure, chart, the output storage address is also printed. To avoid printing this explanatory line, you can use the colon symbol. The commands of this library have many arguments corresponding to the numerous uses of this library. However, we do not need all of these arguments. We have brought you here some of these arguments that are very frequent, and no need to memorize any of these. Whenever you need to use any argument, you can use help, the built-in function help, and you can get benefit from it. You can also use the shortcut key Shift plus Tab for the same purposes. When using the drawing commands of this library, we usually have to use a plt.show. One of the most important features of this library is the ability to draw multiple shapes at the same time in one frame. For this purpose, a subplot should be used. The counting and indexing of this subplot is the only exception in Python, which starts from 1 instead of 0. Okay, to get expertise in any programming language and also Python, you need to practice more and more. So I again highly recommend you to practice more and more in programming in Python language to get a high level expertise in programming in Python at the first step, and at the second step you will become a very high level expert of machine learning field if you keep continuing watching these videos and practicing these Python files in this tutorial. Okay, have a nice day.